You can run Telegram permanently with no physical SIM card in your possession, not through a virtual number, not through a sketchy OTP service, but with a real number you own, where the account lives on dedicated hardware in Singapore and your actual SIM sits in a drawer or gets cancelled entirely. Running Telegram without a SIM is not some gray area hack. The architecture is just cleaner. You own the number, you enter the code yourself, then you hand the session to hardware that never sleeps. I run managed Telegram hosting on dedicated Singapore hardware, real Samsung handsets on real carrier SIMs. And the single thing people get wrong about Telegram is that they think the SIM card is the account. It is not. The SIM is an identity anchor you need exactly once, at registration, and then maybe one more time if something forces a fresh login. After that, the session is what Telegram tracks. This video is for travelers, expats, and operators who want Telegram running without a number they keep paying for, and who want it done in a way that survives. And I will say up front, this is about legitimate access to an account you own, on a number you control. Nothing here is about getting into someone else's account. Here is the plan. First, what actually happens when you register, so you understand why the SIM is optional after that. Then the real setup, step by step, the way it should be done. Then what can go wrong, and the one decision that separates a clean recovery from a locked account you fight support for over weeks. Let's start with what happens when you register on Telegram. You give them a phone number, they send a code, you enter it, they create a session bound to that number. From that moment, the session itself is the access credential, not your ongoing access to the SIM. You can leave the country, swap SIMs, lose the handset, and as long as the session is alive on a device Telegram trusts, you stay logged in. The number only comes back into play if you ever need to log in again, like adding a new device or recovering after a session expires. Before you touch anything, get your input straight. You need a phone number that can receive an SMS or a voice call during setup. Postpaid, prepaid, eSIM, or VoIP if Telegram accepts it for your country. You need a device running Telegram version 10 or later, and a second device or browser tab for verification. And if your SIM is brand new, wait 24 hours after activation before you register. Telegram's anti-spam layer is tighter than it was 2 years ago. A number registered within hours of being issued gets a harder look. Your number source matters more than people think. A postpaid or prepaid SIM from a real carrier in your country gives the cleanest registration. VoIP numbers from services like Google Voice or Text Now work sometimes and fail silently other times, and Telegram changes which ones it accepts without announcing anything. If you are in Russia, Iran, the UAE, Nigeria, or the Philippines, a local SIM is almost always the right call. And a virtual number from a gray market SMS service is the riskiest of all. If that number was used before on a banned account, Telegram may rate limit or flag your registration the moment you try, with no error message telling you why. Now register. Open Telegram on your device and enter your phone number in international format. That is a plus sign, the country code, then the number, no spaces and no dashes. Tap next. Telegram says it is sending a code. Here is the part that trips people up. If you already have Telegram active on another device under a different number, the code may arrive as an in-app message to that device, not as an SMS. People sit staring at their text inbox wondering why nothing arrives when the code is already sitting in another Telegram session. Check there first. Now the step almost everyone skips, and it is the one that decides everything later. Set your two-step verification password before you do anything else. Go to Settings, then Privacy and Security, then Two-Step Verification. Set a strong password and attach a recovery email. Write both down somewhere that is not your phone. This password is your fallback if you lose access to the number later. Without it, a lost SIM means a locked account and a slow support process. With it, you can log in from a new device using the password plus a confirmation sent to any active session. Do not put this off and come back to it. Set it now before the session ever leaves your hands. Now move the session to hosted hardware. With a managed setup like the one I run, you get a browser-based STF session. You open it on your laptop or phone, and what you see is a live Android device rendered in your browser. It runs on a real handset in Singapore, on a real carrier SIM pinned to one Singapore mobile IP that does not rotate and is not shared with other customers. Inside that browser rendered Android, you open Telegram and you enter your phone number again. Here is the only OTP moment in the whole flow. Because you already have an active session, Telegram routes the authorization code to your existing sessions on other devices, not to an SMS. On your original device, look for the in-app notification with the 5-digit code. You read it and you type it into the hosted session yourself. The hosting provider never sees this code. You enter it. That is the entire trust boundary. The session is now live on the Singapore hardware, and I never touched your number or your code. Before you trust it, confirm the hosted session is actually running. Send the message to saved messages from the hosted browser session, then check that it appears on your original device. This cross-check confirms the session is active and syncing, not stuck behind a loading spinner that looks like success but is not. Then go to Settings, then Devices. You should see two active sessions, your original device and the new hosted one. The hosted session shows a generic Android name and a Singapore mobile IP. That is correct. If you see a data center IP or a residential pool IP instead, something is wrong with the environment and you flag it before going any further. Now you understand what Telegram no SIM card actually means, so decide how to handle the physical card. Once your two-step password is set and your session runs on hosted hardware, you do not need the SIM for routine operation. The hosted session handles all incoming messages, calls, and bot traffic. But releasing the SIM means different things. If you are on prepaid and stop topping up, the number goes dormant and the carrier eventually recycles it. That is fine if you never need a code again, but if your hosted session ever drops and needs a fresh login, the number is gone. If you want to keep it long-term without the physical card, port it to an eSIM service or a number parking provider before the prepaid balance lapses. The practical choice for most people is the middle path. Keep the SIM on minimum cost maintenance, since many prepaid plans have a small monthly fee just to preserve the number, and treat it as break glass recovery. The hosted session runs indefinitely, and you rarely need the number again. But on the rare day you do, it is there. Abandoning the number entirely saves you a few dollars a month and costs you the entire account if anything ever forces you to verify again. That is a bad trade. Now harden the hosted session's privacy settings. On the hosted device, go to Settings, then Privacy and Security, and review who can see your phone number. Set it to Nobody or to My Contacts. This limits your exposure if the account ever gets targeted by scrapers or pulled into unsolicited group chats. Turn off auto download for large media, which saves storage on the hosted hardware and reduces attack surface from malicious files. And check that the session inactivity lock is set to never, so it does not lock itself during quiet periods of low message volume. Now the things that go wrong, starting with the most common. The code never arrives by SMS. First, check whether Telegram sent it to an existing active session instead, since that is where it goes when you already have one. If there are no active sessions and SMS still is not arriving, wait 60 seconds and request the voice call option. Telegram will call the number and read the code aloud. If voice also fails, your carrier may be blocking international shortcode SMS, or the number is on a carrier block list. At that point, you try a different number rather than fighting the dead one. Second, the account gets flagged or restricted shortly after registration. This usually happens for one of three reasons. The number was previously tied to a banned account. You were behind a data center VPN during registration, or you registered within hours of activating a brand new SIM. The fix follows directly. Do not use a data center VPN while registering. Wait 24 hours after SIM activation. And if the number feels dirty because you bought it from a gray market service, start over with a clean one. These are registration stage triggers, separate from the behavior patterns that get accounts banned months later. Third, and this is the scenario two-step verification exists for, the hosted session drops and you no longer have the SIM to get a fresh code. If your two-step password is set, you open a new session on any device using that password, plus a confirmation sent to any remaining active session. You are back in. If you have no active sessions and no two-step password, you are now dealing with Telegram support, and the response time is measured in weeks. This is the entire reason I told you to set that password early. It is the difference between a 5-minute recovery and a multi-week one. If you realize mid-setup that something went wrong, work in order. Go to Settings, then Devices. on any device still logged in and check what is still active. You can terminate individual sessions remotely from there. If you accidentally logged into the wrong account on the hosted device, terminate that session from your main device and restart the hosting step. If you have lost the SIM and all sessions, but you still have your two-step password, contact Telegram support through their official channel and state plainly that you have the password, but no access to the registered number. They will typically have you wait about 7 days for old sessions to expire, then let you log in with the password alone, and do not file multiple tickets because that resets the queue timer and slows the whole thing down. It is worth being clear about why this whole approach beats the cheap alternative. A gray market OTP service rents you a number that hundreds of people have already used, sitting on a shared pool of low-trust carriers behind whatever data center IP the service runs out of. Telegram's risk model flags that combination almost immediately, and those accounts get hit within days, sometimes hours. What you are doing is the exact opposite. A real number you own, a real Samsung handset, a real Singapore carrier IP that reads as a Singapore mobile user, because that is genuinely what Telegram sees. It is not a disguise, it is just a clean setup. So if you want Telegram running with no SIM in your pocket, this is the setup I host. Real Singapore Samsung hardware on a real carrier SIM with a fixed Singapore mobile IP that does not rotate and is not shared with anyone else. You bring your own number, you enter the code yourself one time, and from there the session lives on hardware that does not reboot when your home internet goes down or your laptop closes. You own the number, you own the account, and I run the environment and nothing else. I never see your code and I never know your two-step password because you set that yourself on the device. It is $99 a month for a single account, scaling up if you run several identities on separate handsets. Card or crypto both work, and onboarding is concierge so the setup is correct on day one. Join at telegramvault.org and use code TGYT for 30% off your first month. If this helped, subscribe, because the next video walks through how to warm up a new Telegram account properly so it survives past the first week instead of getting flagged on day 5. Different use case, same infrastructure underneath. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.